If you've ever had problems with an entitled neighbor, this story might be for you. I'm Josh with eDesk Stories, your home for the juiciest stories and the hottest tea. In today's installment, the original poster wants to know,
am I wrong for refusing to let my entitled neighbor join our meat sharing group? So here's the situation. I live in a pretty tight-knit neighborhood where a few of us like to share the costs of certain things to save money and get better quality products. A few years ago, a couple of my neighbors and I came up with the idea of buying a cow together, having it butchered, and then splitting the meat. It's a great way to stock our freezers with high-quality beef without breaking the bank. We each pay our share, and when the meat arrives, we divvy it up. Everything was going smoothly until one of the neighbors in our group, Linda, casually mentioned to another neighbor, Susan, how much we saved by doing this. Now, Susan is the kind of person who always seems to think she's entitled to whatever she wants. She's known around the neighborhood for her get-off-my-lawn attitude and has had more than a few run-ins with the other neighbors over trivial things. I've never been a fan of hers, and I certainly didn't want her in our little group. Sure enough, Susan came knocking on my door the next day, all smiles. "Hey, I heard you guys buy a cow and split the meat. I'd love to be a part of that. It sounds like such a great deal." She was practically bubbling with excitement, but I could feel my stomach sink. I didn't want to outright tell her that I didn't like her and didn't want her in the group, so I just said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but we've already got a full group and there isn't any extra meat. Maybe next time?" She seemed a bit disappointed but didn't push the issue, and I thought that was the end of it. A few months later, one of the original members of our group moved away, which left an open spot. I dreaded what was coming next. Sure enough, the day our new meat order arrived, Susan showed up at my doorstep with a check in hand and a list of the cuts she wanted. She was all smiles again, acting as if she was already a member of the group. "Great timing," she said, pushing past me into the kitchen. "I'm ready to pay my share. Let's divvy this up." I was caught off guard but managed to say, "Susan, I never said you were in the group. We didn't add anyone new after Linda moved." She looked stunned for a moment, then annoyed. "But you have an open spot now, right? And I'm here with the money. Why wouldn't you let me in?" I tried to explain that we hadn't made any decisions about adding new members, but she wasn't having it. She started picking through the meat, claiming the best cuts as her own, despite my protests. "I'll take these steaks and these roasts. Oh, and the ground beef too. That should cover what I paid." She grabbed all the best beef for herself. We usually take turns picking from the packages so everyone gets a fair share. At this point, I was fuming. I told her she wasn't part of the group and she needed to leave, but she wouldn't budge until I physically took the meat out of her hands and walked her to the door. She left in a huff, but not before making a snide comment about how unfair I was being. The problem didn't end there. Because of the awkward situation, I ended up paying for twice as much meat as I needed, since Susan had told the person I had asked to join us that she was taking that spot. She didn't add it to her budget, since she thought she was out, so I had to pay for and keep her share unless I can find someone to buy it. The rest of the group was sympathetic, but it caused some tension. A few people even suggested that I should have just let her join to avoid the drama. Now, there's been a weird vibe in the neighborhood. Susan's been bad-mouthing me to anyone who will listen, saying I'm petty and cliquish, but I just didn't want to deal with her entitled attitude and the inevitable drama she'd bring to the group. So, am I wrong for refusing to let her join our meat-sharing group and ultimately causing this neighborhood conflict? Should I have just let her in and dealt with it for the sake of keeping the peace? Or was I right to stand my ground?
so what do you think? Entitled neighbors often do give you cause to avoid them at all costs. It sounds like this neighbor way overstepped, and the OP was well within her rights to turn her away. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments. Let's discuss it. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily stories.